takes years. You know, but the thing is, I always thought, as long as you're consistent, man, as long as you go there every day and do a little something and make it part of your routine, eventually you're going to have something to show for it. I mean, if you just keep doing it day in and day out, you keep going, you keep eating right, you keep lifting right, and over time, your body will start to grow and change, and eventually people will start saying, "Hey, what are you doing? You know, you look pretty good. What are you doing? What's your secret? You know, what's and that'll happen. A lot of people, they don't have that. You know, desire. They don't have the willpower to just stick it out. They want that magic pill, and then when they don't have it in a couple of weeks, they just say, forget it. But that's why I respect a lot of the guys on your site, a lot of the natural athletes, a lot of the guys who are training hard and staying consistently over the years, and, you know, that's why I respect all those guys. Because it is dedication, man. It takes a lot of willpower, and you got to be mentally strong as well as physically strong. So, you know, I mean, you got to respect all the athletes out there that are working hard, and it's not easy to do. So I've been there, so I got respect for you and all those guys alike.
You know, every time I get, my ego gets big, and I think I'm doing something great. I just have to go on the site and see these guys that compete 3 or 4 times a year and stay in incredible shape. And
oh yeah, man.
I know I'm nowhere near that level.
Absolutely. You know, they always said that. I mean, they always said there's always some guy bigger and stronger than you. No matter who you are, there's always someone better than you. There's always someone stronger, and so, you know, it's everything in reason, man. As long as you know, if every guy, as long as you be consistent and you eat right, do the best you can do. I mean, it's all you can do, man. You know, as long as you give 100% effort every day, then you have no regrets because you did the best you could with what you had.
Now, I want to get back to wrestling and ask you a few questions here in a minute, but I want to ask you a little bit more about bodybuilding. Do you follow bodybuilding at all on the you know, say the last 10 years?
You know, I used to really follow it a lot. I used to follow a lot through, through, you know, 99-ish. And I watched a lot of those guys. I don't really watch as much now. I still, you know, follow it. But I used to really follow it diehard. And, you know, but, you know, I keep up with it. I still try to keep up with the wrestling. I try to see who the superstar, the champions are. And I still try to see who won an Olympia, or, you know, what fitness guy is doing real well. So I still try to. You got the kids now. My house is dominated by Barney and Friends and all these shows. So I don't get a chance to watch much sports anymore, but I do try to follow that as well as, you know, baseball, all the other sports.
What do you think about the current state, you know, of bodybuilding? I remember, you know, being an old schooler, picking up the Weider magazines in college in '86, and I remember seeing Gaspari, and he looked so thick.
And, yeah, he did. And, he did. I mean, what was I? Sorry.
I was just going to say, and, you know, nowadays, you know, the guys tend to talk about steroids, but they completely ignore all the other drugs that these guys are using. I was just curious, you know, what your thoughts are, you know, in the modern state of professional bodybuilding, and do you think it's ever going to clean up? Because right now it's just, you know, insane the amount of chemicals that these guys are taking.
Right. Well, I mean, over the course of time, you look at bodybuilding all the way back to Frank Zane. I mean, there's always going to be chemicals in IFBB. There's always going to be, you know, enhancements. I mean, these guys are doing the best they can to get their bodies to a superhuman state, and there's always going to be something out there. But a lot of times, you know, a guy I respect and a guy I've heard a lot about, the guy that I thought that should have won a couple of Olympias and he never did, I think it's a tragedy, is Sean Ray. To me, Sean Ray was the epitome of a bodybuilder. I mean, Sean Ray had everything going, and I think he made some good points where he said a lot of times is they don't switch the judges enough. I couldn't agree more. That's why you had, you know, the Schwarzenegger. Schwarzenegger was an icon. He's kind of an example. But you had the Haneys. All those years you had Lee, and then you had Dorian all those years. Then you had Ronnie all those years. So I think, though, like Sean said, if you switched up the judges every year, rather than having the same panel for several years, you wouldn't have that. You know what I mean?
Sure.
And there's some guys that you mentioned, the guys that, all my friends, and we trained, it was guys like, all these icons of the sport that we all looked up to, it was guys like Flex Wheeler and, Sean Ray, Flex Wheeler. There's a lot of guys out there that never got an Olympia, Lavroni, that I think would be good for the sport, man, to really switch it up and have more guys win it and make it more of a melting pot of guys, rather than having the same guys. I mean, Yates was unbelievable. Yates was an amazing individual and athlete, as well as Haney and all those guys. But it would have been nice to have seen maybe a Lavroni or a Flex. I think Flex was 93. I think they said he should have won it. And, I saw him with Sean Ray in 2001. Looked amazing. Looked incredible. I thought he should have won that year. In 97, he had a really good chance. But it would have been nice to see a little bit of a mix-up. But sports in hand, it's always going to be prevalent. But a lot of times what the judges want, and like Ray was saying a couple times, he was saying how, they want to see the mask guys, they're into the mask monsters, and then other years they switch to the more vascular look. And I think now, they're going for the massy guys. And the more mass they're looking for, the more chemicals, and you can do the math. You know what I mean?
Sure.
And that's just the way it is. I mean, a lot of guys have told me, they said they wonder when will enough be enough. Because you're saying to yourself, Mr. Olympia's getting bigger every year. I mean, I think it was back in the 90s, Yates, they said at one point was the biggest guy, the biggest Olympia ever. He was like 5'10". You can probably correct me if I'm wrong, but I think Yates was like 5'10 and a half, 265 on the stage, sound right?
Like that.
I mean, and that was big back then. And now you got Ronnie, who's what, 300 or plus? I mean, that's a 300-pound Miss Olympia. That's a big individual.
Yeah.
And and you say to yourself, it's almost amazing to see, like, can the human body go any further? It's almost like you say to yourself, you don't think you can get, just when you think you can't get any bigger, they get bigger. And it blows my mind. It's almost you want to watch it for the sheer shock factor of how big these guys can get, and I think that's what it's coming to, man. That's what people are looking to see now. We want to see these guys. I want to see these guys who are just superhuman. And I think they really just take it to the next level. That's what they're looking for. So I think it's always going to be there, man.
Now you mentioned sometimes they look for the ultra shredded look, and then sometimes the mass guy wins. Nowadays in natural bodybuilding, and I have this conversation with a lot of my friends, it seems like the bar is set because they can't get big. The bar gets set to see how shredded they can get. And to me, this is just my personal opinion. So, I appreciate all the athletes in the sport, but sometimes when I look back at the guys before the steroid era, like John Grymick and Steve Reeves and Reg Park, I like them having a little bit of body fat on them because they look like like they could pick up a rock and crush the sun or something ridiculous. But
exactly. And I think it's good. Like you said, I agree with you because it's good for the younger guys when they see the guys that are like this. Because they'll say to themselves, hey, man, this is attainable, Maybe they see, one of these other guys, these guys like, 300-plus pounds with arms as big as their waist. I mean, it's almost like not even attainable for these young guys. And I think, like you said, to see some of the guys like Reeves and those other guys, it gives them a lot of motivation because they can say to themselves, I can look like this. If I train hard and eat right, I can look like this.